4:12 a.m., Reno, Nevada, a Tuesday in June 2026. The rear service door of Silver Sage Amusements came off its hinges in under 4 seconds. DEA and ATF tactical operators flooded through the gap in a single column, weapons up, moving fast across worn carpet and blinking slot machines. Ground floor clear in 90 seconds, no resistance, no one home, just machines running on timers and a faint, persistent smell of something hot and metallic that had no business being there. Agents on body camera cleared the far corner of the arcade. One stopped at the broken Wheel of Fortune cabinet, pushed it aside, and crouched. The camera caught his gloved hand, finding the edge of a flush floor plate and lifting it on its hinge. The body camera tilted down into the opening, a metal staircase descending into darkness, the lens fogging slightly in the cold air rising from below. Inside 3 induction furnaces, still warm from the night before, racks of unfinished castings, sorted by lot number, boxes stacked floor to ceiling, each labeled with internal codes no legitimate business would use, and a ledger, 940 unfinished frames, 2,700 completed ones, ready for shipment. An order book valued at $6.4 million. This is how a cartel-owned zinc die-casting operation, running under a slot arcade on the industrial fringe of Reno, produced untraceable rifle components for 19 months before a single utility anomaly ended it. A retention checkpoint, 030 hook resolution T's gift. The break did not come from an informant. It did not come from a wiretap or a controlled buy. It came from a spreadsheet in the Nevada Public Utilities Commission, flagged by a state auditor who had no connection to federal law enforcement and no idea what he was looking at. The anomaly first surfaced in a commercial raid audit. Surveillance footage from a federal monitoring vehicle parked near the Reno Business District shows Silver Sage Amusements from the outside, an unremarkable storefront registered as a 22-machine entertainment arcade. Inside, undercover surveillance had already begun. The power draw flagged in the audit was 41% above the highest comparable arcade baseline in the Nevada region. That discrepancy moved the case from a utility file to a federal task force briefing. That number could not exist in a legitimate slot arcade. The machines on record did not draw that load, the building footprint did not justify it, and the consumption curve was wrong in a second way that Yates noticed but could not explain. The spike was not during business hours. It peaked at 2 a.m. Yates flagged it in his report and routed it to a supervisor. The supervisor escalated to the state's commercial fraud division. Through a joint task force liaison channel, the file crossed to ATF Reno within 2 weeks. Retention checkpoint, 400 stakes bend fire. The ATF case agent who received it was a woman named Sandra Pruitt. She had 11 years in the bureau, 6 of them working illegal weapons manufacturing cases. She read Yates's flag once, then read it again. 41% excess draw, 2 a.m. spike. A cash-only arcade with clean quarterly reports and a steady lunchtime crowd. Pruitt pulled the building permits for Silver Sage. The structure was a converted single-story light industrial unit with a standard concrete slab foundation. Nothing in the permit record indicated a basement or sublevel. She requested a structural survey of the surrounding parcels. One adjacent lot had been excavated and refilled in 2023 under a demolition permit for a previous tenant. The timeline fit. She authorized covert thermal drone passes. The first was inconclusive. The second, run 11 days later at 1:45 a.m., returned a heat signature consistent with high-temperature metalworking beneath a building that officially housed nothing but electronics and carpet. The signature matched induction furnace exhaust profiles in ATF's reference database. 11 weeks of surveillance followed. The drone passes continued, twice a week, always in the window between midnight and 4 a.m. Analysts mapped the heat distribution pattern across the building's footprint and triangulated the furnace positions to within about 8 feet of where they were eventually found. The surveillance window was operationally necessary. Pruitt knew it and accepted it. Closing in early would have severed the network at one node and left the distribution chain intact. Thermal imaging captured the heat signature of the facility in the hours before entry, 3 furnace masses glowing on the display, their output measurable, the rate visibly climbing across successive scans. The tactical commander reviewed that feed from the command vehicle. The decision to hold the perimeter and wait out the operating cycle rather than breach mid-run is documented in the operational record. It was the correct call. During those 11 weeks, a parallel investigation on a separate federal track connected to the Silver Sage case through an unexpected channel. DEA's Reno field office had been working a cartel financial case since late 2025, tracing shell company networks tied to a mid-tier distribution operation in the Pacific Northwest. In early May 2026, analysts working the money trail identified a shell entity registered in Nevada under the name Cascade Asset Holdings. Cascade held the lease on the Silver Sage building. The same entity was already under an active seizure order connected to the DEA's Pacific Northwest probe. The 2 investigations merged into a joint task force within 72 hours of that connection being made. Retention checkpoint, 50% mid-roll hook tended to the site. What the combined team now knew. Silver Sage was not an isolated operation. It was a manufacturing node inside a larger cartel logistics structure. The distribution chain ran north, primarily through unmarked slot machine service vans making regular runs between Reno and distributors in Portland and Seattle. The vans were plausible cover. Slot machine service routes are routine and unremarkable. A white van with a service logo on a Nevada to Oregon run raises no flags at a highway stop. The ATF overlay team estimated, based on van movement logs obtained through a separate court order, that completed frames were being moved in shipments of between 60 and 80 units per run, roughly twice a month. The math was consistent with the 2,700 completed frames found on the night of the raid. Here's the take that will probably get us some pushback. The counterfeit serial stamp process described in the indictment is a specific and documented technique, and the fact that this manufacturing line ran for 19 months inside a state-regulated commercial building, filing clean quarterly reports with Nevada revenue authorities, is not primarily a law enforcement failure. It is a regulatory gap. Three-phase power draw is not a metric any agency routinely monitors for manufacturing fraud indicators. Gerald Yates found it because he was auditing rates, not hunting criminals. The system caught this one by accident. Without that audit, the order book valued at $6.4 million would have kept filling. What do you think? Does a gap this specific get closed by policy, or does it take another case like this one to force the issue? Drop it in the comments. The tactical plan for the raid was built around one central problem: the concealed hatch. Building plans obtained through the structural survey indicated the most probable location, but probable is not certain. If the team breached and the hatch was not where analysts had placed it, the element of surprise would be gone, and anyone in the sub-basement would have time to destroy evidence or, worse, use the staircase as a choke point. Pruitt's team ran 4 scenario rehearsals using a mocked-up floor plan at a training facility outside Reno. Each scenario assumed a different hatch position. Each ended with a timed descent into the sub-level because the priority was to secure the furnaces and the castings before anything could be moved or destroyed. On the 4th rehearsal, a sensor wire snagged on a prop cabinet and the team lost 4 seconds on the descent sequence. They rehearsed it twice more until the time was consistent. There is a line in the operational brief that reads almost like fiction. Target structure may contain thermal residual hazard from induction furnace operation. Operators should assume surface temperatures in the sub-level may exceed safe contact limits for up to 6 hours post-shutdown. The furnaces ran until approximately midnight. The team breached at 4:12 a.m. The casings on the racks were still warm. I went through the court transcripts, and one detail kept nagging at me. The cartel side ledger found in the sub-basement was not encrypted. It was a physical notebook, handwritten. Lot numbers, unit counts, delivery codes, partial payment records. Whoever maintained it apparently calculated that the concealment of the basement itself was security enough. They were almost right. The ground floor cleared in 90 seconds. The hatch location matched the primary scenario within 2 feet. The descent team hit the sub-level in under 3 minutes from breach. The 3 induction furnaces were identified immediately. Operators photographed them before anything else was touched. Federal agents moved through the warehouse in forensic photography teams, photographing each rack of unfinished castings before an evidence marker was placed. Sealed boxes of completed frames were logged one by one, an agent reading each code aloud while a second recorded it. At the metal table near the northwest furnace, another agent photographed the ledger open, then bagged it. The evidence collection ran 4 hours before a single item left the floor. 11 arrests were made on site, 6 more followed within 48 hours across Oregon, Washington, and Nevada. The arrests targeted distribution contacts whose names and codes appeared in the ledger. 3 of those 6 were taken at their residences. 2 were stopped in transit on Interstate 5 north of Sacramento. 1 was apprehended at a storage facility in Portland, where an additional 83 finished frames were found, frames that had already cleared the Reno to Portland run and were staged for onward distribution. The operation was over. The sub-basement was sealed. 17 individuals were in federal custody, but the distribution network above the Portland and Seattle tier has not been fully mapped. Repention checkpoint last 60s payoff open-loop former. Court records filed in the District of Nevada in the weeks following the raid show charges across the 17 defendants, including conspiracy to manufacture unregistered firearms, illegal transfer of firearms, money laundering, and federal racketeering. The individuals arrested on site include the 2 men who operated the casting line and the building manager who controlled access to the sub-level. The higher-tier cartel coordinators who placed and managed the $6.4 million order book are identified in the indictment under coded designations. Their actual identities are listed in a sealed annex. The slot machine service van network is dismantled at the Reno origin point. The 2 vans stopped on Interstate 5 were seized and processed. Analysts found trace zinc particulate consistent with the Reno operation in the cargo areas of both. That material is now part of the physical evidence chain. One van is unaccounted for. Fleet movement records obtained through the court order show a third van that completed a Reno to Seattle run in late May 2026, approximately 12 days before the raid. The van's registration was transferred to a private party in Tacoma on June 3rd. Its current physical location does not appear in any public filing. Evidence collection teams are shown on body camera carrying sealed boxes of completed frames to waiting federal vehicles. The unfinished castings follow on tagged pallets. In a later shot, a wide angle from a dash camera outside the facility captures agents in a line transferring the last of the 3 induction furnaces hoisted on a flatbed into federal custody. All of it is in a federal evidence facility now. Body camera footage from the raid documents the order book being lifted from the table and bagged into evidence. The names and codes recorded in it trace upward through the distribution chain. Agents with the federal task force photographed each page. The buyers whose codes appear above the Portland tier have not been charged. Their identities are in the evidence file. The network had an output rate of roughly 142 frames per month over 19 months. The total cost of the casting operation, estimated from ledger entries, is approximately $1.1 million. The cartel side order value was $6.4 million. That margin on unregistered hardware moving through a legitimate-looking commercial building on a light industrial strip was apparently worth the investment. Gerald Yates, the utilities auditor, filed his initial anomaly flag in April 2026 as a routine commercial rate discrepancy. His paperwork does not use the word firearms, it does not reference the ATF, it asks only why a slot arcade is drawing industrial-level 3-phase power at 2 in the morning. That question reached Sandra Pruitt. Pruitt's 11 weeks of thermal surveillance reached the DEA's Shell Company trace. The Shell Company trace reached Cascade Asset Holdings, and Cascade reached the basement under the broken Wheel of Fortune cabinet. The furnaces are cold now, the basement is cleared. Somewhere above the Portland tier, the people who placed a $6.4 million order for untraceable rifle frames know their supply line is gone. They will find another one. If cases like this one sit with you the way they sit with us, subscribe. The next one goes deeper.